first, live, local. Good Day Oregon starts now on Fox 12 Oregon.
Well, you are waking up to below freezing temperatures this morning and some situations as a result. This is a live look from Air 12. A MAX train has derailed. They've been trying to get all the snow and ice off the rails there and actually making some progress in starting to move the train. We want to get right to Joe Vathiathil, who's live on the scene.
Yeah, Shauna, so just about 30 seconds ago, right before he took us, they started backing up the train just a little bit. For those of you just joining us, this is a train that basically earlier this morning was trying to switch from the blue line to the yellow line. And it's a barely traveled piece of track right here that was iced over. It slid off when it basically tried to make the transition from one line to the other. For the last couple hours, we've had TriMet crews out here. At first, they were just kind of digging away at ice. Then they brought out about 5 blowtorches, melted the ice on the track. It looks like most of that ice now has been melted, and they're getting ready to try and get the train back on the connector track. Again, that goes from the blue line to the yellow line. To my right, we brought this big rig right here that they brought in. We actually had to move our news truck and clear the area because they brought that in, presumably because that's going to help get the train back on the tracks where it needs to be. Again, they had just backed it up. They're assessing the situation right now. So, obviously, not only is this something interesting to look at. The good news, I want to point out, nobody was injured, so let's get that out of the way. Just so you know, nobody was injured in this incident, but obviously this is just wreaking havoc on people's morning commutes for those of you that use TriMet. Your best bet is, well, at least at this point, is to use the bus because that's a little bit more dependable right now than the MAX trains. Although they are operating on the west side of the metro area from Hillsborough to Goose Hollow, the blue and red lines. The yellow and orange lines are not operating right now. And then on the east side, many of the lines, well, the blue line does go from the Rose Quarter to Gresham because it's heading in the other direction. And then the other lines stop at the Gateway Transit Center. That's as far west as they're going right now. So, guys, that's the situation right now. So we're waiting for when they are actually going to attempt to pull the train onto the track. It looks like we may want to stay with this because it looks like the TriMet crew is clearing the way here. For what? I have no idea, but it looks like they may be directing this big van here. We may want to stick with this for just a second because I'm not exactly sure what is happening right now. They're powwowing right now. It looks like they've got the tracks cleared. And again, we're waiting to see if they use this big vehicle that they brought in to get it back on the tracks. Let me just walk over here, see if I can get a better look at it. Yeah, go ahead.
We know you've been spending a lot of time outside over the past couple of days bringing us reports from all over town, but we were noticing in the last hour, it's quite surprising how much time they've had to spend just melting this ice. It just really tells a story of how thick and how packed it is.
Yeah, and you know the interesting thing is it's not like they haven't. While this is a less traveled piece of track that it slid off of, it's not like they haven't used it. In fact, it was used, I understand, last night. So in the time between last night and this morning, somehow it iced over to the point where this train derailed. I mean, that's what's kind of interesting to me about it. It's not like this is the first time that it was used since the snowstorm. So yeah, it was very much iced over and compacted snow. So again, we'll see what's happening right now.
Hey, Joe, just, you know, looking at yourself,
I'm not sure.
Do you think they're going to have to somehow lift that train a little bit onto the tracks, or can they maybe back it up and kind of get it realigned? I mean, if you were to sort of assessing it yourself, what would you think?
Yeah, so Tony, what they did do already, I can tell you, is just right before you came to us live, about 30 seconds before you came to us live, they backed it up. They backed the train up, not very far, less than 10 feet, I would say. And so now they're kind of assessing the situation, but presumably, and of course the TriMet's not telling us every little detail of how they're trying to do this. That's why they brought in this large vehicle here, is to assist it into getting back on that track. I think right now they are trying to assess, can they just back it up and get it on the track, or do they need assistance in the form of that big vehicle right there?
You know, it's interesting. We have a travel trailer, and with travel trailers, if you're moving them without a vehicle, you bring in a forklift is the way to do it. You lift them up, and you move it over on its back wheels so that you can put it into the place that you need to. Here, it's so much heavier.
Look right there. Look right there. Do you see that, guys?
Yeah, we're watching it right now.
It looks like some sort of bar or something.
Yeah, they're gonna like a block and tackle kind of thing, kind of raise it up a little bit, maybe.
Right, so that they can move it over.
Slide it over.
You know, it's interesting, Joe. I wonder if you can tell from your vantage point, but if they've actually, you know, turned off power to that car, that's why maybe that larger vehicles there, if it needs to be moved at all, they probably wouldn't use their traditional power. I think they'd use some kind of like a tow or a push from the other vehicle.
I'm sorry. Are you saying did they cut power to the MAX train? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, just
Tony?
curious if they were to move it, if it would be moved by some other source than the traditional source of power that runs the train.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right, and it appears that it is off because none of the lights are on.
Yeah.
I don't see any power of any kind being operated or being used right now by the train. So it looks like they're sweeping it. They're sweeping the tracks right now.
Joe, as we were mentioning earlier, you know, we haven't seen this happen to the MAX line before. Is it your impression that this is sort of organic in how they're trying to get it back onto the tracks, that there really isn't a method to the madness?
Yeah, there's no protocol for this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't want to presume much, but I will say that when we first got here, Mike and my photographer, Mike Heinrich, and I, we were watching it, and at first they just had a big metal stick. I mean, it was as old school as you can get.
Kind of
just
putting their
trying to
heads
break
together.
off the ice.
This is not in the manual.
Yeah, and then they did that. That was about 15 minutes.
Joe, they're setting down
and then it was a blowtorch. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they're setting down. What is this we're looking at? I don't know if you see what the camera is showing us. It's a new piece of equipment we haven't seen out there before, kind of right in front of the train.
Wow. Okay. This is all very sci-fi to me. Quite honestly, I don't know.
I bet it's a hydraulic.
I don't know what any of this machinery is. I would ask these guys, but they're obviously very busy at the moment.
I bet it's a hydraulic jack of some sort.
Any insight you have is welcome.
That's exactly what it appears to be, is that they're somehow going to get some muscle behind this to lift this and slide it.
Over. Yeah.
It's really incredible to watch them work.
Yeah, they're going to try to jack the train up. Wow.
Yeah, especially considering they have not encountered something like this.
This is definitely not in the manual.
No, it's not. And you know, we've talked about how cold it is out there, and as Kim mentioned, Joe, you've been out there for so many days. Do you notice a significant difference in the temperatures this morning? We know it's well below freezing in a lot of areas. Can you physically feel that it's colder today, or does it seem about the same as it's been?
You know, it's just going how my toes feel. It's about what it's been the last 2 days. As for me, no, I don't know any discernible difference. I mean, it's been really cold all 3 days. Whether or not there's a couple degree difference or not, maybe so, but not that I can tell. No, it's just as cold as the last 2 days have been, in my opinion.
So the next question is, that I don't think, that I know none of us know the answer to, but how much does this thing weigh, in the sense that how much power do you have to have in a hydraulic jack like this, if in fact that's what this is, to just, and how far off do you have to lift it to slide it over?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, all of these, it's really fascinating to watch when you think about it, you know?
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's a real tribute to the people who are out there doing this, because I mean, they're obviously sort of improvising as they're going along here and trying to sort all this out, Kim.
Now, do you see this? It appears that whatever he just set on top is it slides.
Yeah.
So
if they can get part of this MAX train, what do you think? Are you thinking like lift it up to that point and then slide it over?
Slide it with this contraption.
But that big bar will give them a good foundation to do any kind of lifting with here.
The question is, how do they lift it? I mean,
that's where the hydraulic pump. I mean, they're going to use power to kind of lift it up, and it wouldn't take much. I mean, Joe, I guess by a question of inches, probably just to get those front, you know, part of the train high enough to get some clearance to get it back on those rails.
Yeah, well, it'll need. I would think it would need to back up a little bit more to get back on the rails. But I suppose if they were able to lift it up, and you could get it back into place here. But man, like I say, far from the expert here. I'm just going off what my eyeballs tell me.
Yeah.
And when we saw this initially, we saw just a few of the workers there, and now everybody's been deployed to try to get this back on.
To try and cut it. Yeah, there are a lot of people in those yellow vests.
Yeah, and it impacts a lot of you today. We know.
Right.
Yeah, no, so we arrived here, guys. Yeah, we arrived around 5:30, I want to say, and we arrived before the maintenance truck did. And then there was a couple guys, as I said, chipping away at the ice. And then there was one guy with the blowtorch, and then there were 5 guys with blowtorches. And now, yeah, the whole army is here now.
You know, if those guys saw Muscle Man Joe without his big, thick coat on, they could say, hey, buddy, Muscles, come over here. You pick it up and move it over.
It's like his CrossFit training.
And if you're just tuning in, of course, this is disrupting MAX service. All this happening right here at the Rose Quarter Station and that whole complex by the Rose Quarter. But with this, of course, TriMet now is sort of saying, you know, the trains on the west side are working okay. The blue line, let's say from Hillsborough into downtown, but it's across the river where you find the problems there. So that's where they have these bus bridges set up. So if I was on the east side and I normally took Max, I would just go right to a bus stop instead.
Yeah, because who knows how long this is going to take. We're watching this progress. They're moving quickly as they can, but man, yeah, people still need to get to work, right, Tony? So,
yep.
you know, you got to come up with some alternatives.
And I will say the freeways are much busier than they've been all week. I know we're going to go to a break here, but we'll have more on all this.
And real quick, we've officially hit a record low temperature at PDX. It's now down to 12 degrees. The old record was 14. Yeah.
Hey, folks, we're going to keep an eye on this as these workers continue to get what we believe is a hydraulic jack into place to move this MAX line back on track. We'll be back with more of Good Day right after this.
Welcome back, everybody. We're following breaking news this morning. Kind of a remarkable story we've been watching as this MAX train has derailed.
Yeah, let's take you back now to live pictures, not only from Air 12, but from the ground where Joe V is. And we're watching these workers try to get some devices into place. And Joe, why don't you walk us through what they're doing here as best you know?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, and again, I haven't spoken with the TriMet folks because they're all very busy right now, but they've laid down this beam right here on the bottom and what appears to be a hydraulic jack of some kind that they're going to use to lift it up and eventually get it back on the rail. Now, for those of you just joining us, essentially what happened was this train was trying to switch from the blue line to the yellow line. There's a little used connection right here, and that was completely iced over this morning. This was around, you know, in the 4 o'clock hour, sometime then. And so ever since then, they've been chipping away at the ice, melting the ice, and now they're setting up all sorts of equipment. Not only are they setting up this jack-looking thing, they brought in this large vehicle to our right. For what purposes yet, we do not know, but whether or not it's to assist the train getting back on the rails. But right now, as you can see, they're assembling the various pieces and putting it all together. So I'm not sure exactly how far away we are from them attempting to actually get the MAX up and back on the rails, guys.
Boy, I just have to feel for these workers because it is so incredibly cold outside to be dealing with this. Andy, right before the break, said what you said, official numbers at PDX, 12 degrees?
Yeah, broke a record. Yeah, we watched the temperature drop 6 degrees in about 15 minutes at the airport. That didn't happen everywhere, but it does have the ability to really drop.
And a moment ago, Air 12 had a great shot of people who apparently had come in out of the east side on a MAX train and then had to, you know, disembark and then walk however far it is, a couple blocks, to a bus that would get them, you know, across into downtown because, of course, the trains can't cross until this one is up and out of the way. But I mean, usually you're on the train, you're nice and cozy, they can arrive. But this morning, you're going to be out there bracing what are now record low temperatures.
Right, and Joe mentioned the fact to him it didn't feel that cold, much colder than what we've had before. I mean, but number-wise, when you're looking at like your phone batteries, when we get temperatures this cold, it tends to drain batteries really fast.
Yeah.
So, you know, those of you that are out there with your phones, I would try to, you know, kill a lot of the apps right now that might be running just to try to conserve that. And
what about a car battery? Does it also
oh, yeah, car batteries. Yeah, there'll be a lot of car batteries that will have issues with trying to start this morning.
You know, you also talked about, Tony, how important it is just when you go to the MAX station or the bus stop to be so bundled up. You know, it's common sense, obviously, but you can't foresee sometimes things like this, and then you're forced off the train or off the bus for whatever reason. And boy, be prepared because it is just, you know, miserably cold out there today.
Let's revisit this with Joe. Joe, for those who are just tuning in, how far does it appear from your vantage point, or as best you've been able to see, does this train need to slide to get back onto the tracks?
That's a good question, Kim. You know, I would say it probably slid a good, oh boy, if I had to estimate here, 15 feet? Is that what you think?
That's
Someone
quite a ways.
thinks it's 15 feet.
Wow, that is a long way.
Yeah, they backed it up. They've since backed it up a bit,
so
it's now maybe perhaps not out as far. But initially, at least that's what it may have been. Yeah.
But still, Joe, as we're looking at this, I think we're kind of figuring and watching as everyone else is. But I mean, once the front of the train is up high enough to clear the rails that it came off of, it has to be then, you know, pushed laterally or, you know, to the side back to where the track is. How is that going to happen?
Right.
That's a good question, and it appears that on this beam, whatever mechanisms are attached slides, but then again, how do you get that to slide? So maybe perhaps the truck comes into play some way. I don't know. We're all watching this as you are, folks at home. We've not seen anything like this.
And I don't think those TriMet crews have seen anything like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's important to point out, I know earlier this morning you were speaking with a TriMet spokesperson, and she said that she couldn't remember the last time anything like this happened, and odds are most people from TriMet, I mean, I can't remember the last time I covered or saw anything like this. I mean, this is new for us, and I think it's new for the TriMet crews as well. So, you know, just as like we're trying to figure it out, obviously they've got a lot more background in this sort of thing, but for them, this is something unique that they don't do often, and so there's a little trial and error here, it seems.
A little bit of a head scratcher when they arrived this morning.
Yeah, and of course all those blow torches there, they're still, you know, attempting to clear the rails in front of the train, so once it is back on the tracks, it'll have a clear, you know, road ahead of it.
And Tony, when we were speaking with Roberta from TriMet earlier, she was mentioning that now with this, they're going to look at some places that are less traveled to see if there are other areas that need to be de-iced.
Took them by surprise because they said they used this same little section, seldom used, but you know, it's used, you know, at least a couple times a day, but it wasn't like late last night, last time a train went through there, so just in those few hours, it completely iced over. So yeah, the potential is there for it to happen.
I would almost guess the fact that they went through fine last night, and then this is also used by cars and trucks and vehicles. So those just going back and forth over the tracks enough to knock the ice apart a little bit, or the slush, and get it into those tracks. Then we get the hard freeze, and then they run into that. That would be my guess on how that came about.
I think this is a good illustration. I think many of you will get out on the roads this morning on the main highways and say, oh, the roads are fine, they're clear. This shows you that there are still quite a few problems out there where ice is concerned. When you go under the overpasses, on those turns getting from freeway to freeway, you're going to find some slippery spots.
And also, as I've noticed, and we can show at some point as well, the freeways are much busier today than they've been all week. Right. I mean, I-5, 205, 26, we've had crashes this morning, so people are definitely kind of getting up and giving it a try. And I think, you know, for better or for worse, people's confidence level of driving in these conditions is up a little bit. That may not necessarily be a good thing. I mean, the more experience, the better, but people, I think, are taking chances they wouldn't have taken, you know, the very first day of this event, because people are definitely hitting the road. Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and take care of a little bit of weather information for you right now.
We're going to keep an eye on this.
Yes, keep an eye on that, and when that starts to change or something massive happens, we'll jump to it. But I want to show you how cold it is out there. First of all, look, it's 12 degrees.
And it didn't just drop in Portland. It's dropped in other places, too,
We're going to look at those places, too. In the metro,
wait, let me go grab my jacket and my mittens so I can earmuffs.
And what I want to do, as well as we look from this shot from the Shriners Hospital camera, 12 degrees, compare that to what we have up at the mountain, which is a beautiful view of the mountain right there. It's 20 degrees up there at the pass. Our ski bowl camera showing us the great clear skies that we have out there. But the temperatures around the metro, it's dropped down to 5 degrees right now in Hillsboro. It is 11 up in Battleground, 19 as we look to Sandy and Corbett, 17 down in Newburgh, and 12 degrees out in Forest Grove. But again, that 12 degrees that we have right there at PDX, that breaks the old record by 2 degrees, and it could still get colder as we go through the morning. So as we once again go up to the mountain, 20 up at Timberline, 18 degrees Meadows, so quite a bit warmer up there than we have in a lot of places in the metro. Still, our roads pretty much covered out there as we saw from the ODOT camera. They'll see mostly sunny skies, anticipating their temperatures probably drop a few degrees here as we get into the afternoon. 17, 18 at Meadows, 24 at the pass, 28 degrees for Welch's. Here in the metro area, we will start to work our way back up into the teens and 20s as we get into the late morning, early afternoon. 32 is our expected high today. The 7-day forecast, we could see temperatures in the outlying areas, again, very cold, but at the airport, 16 and 18 are what we're expecting to start tomorrow and Sunday mornings. Afternoon highs, low to mid 30s with the sunshine. Rain arriving Monday afternoon, high 37. Rainy Tuesday through Thursday with highs upper 40s to low 50s. Now let's go over to Tony.
As much as I hate it when Andy's right, he's right. This is that road, that route that would take you onto the Steel Bridge, and that's exactly where that part of the track is. So, Andy, you nailed it on that one. So, more on that coming up. Do want to get you caught up on the freeways here quickly across the metro area if you are heading in. I'll show you a couple of things there. First off, along this stretch of 205 northbound, very, very slow approaching the 205-84 interchange. My Midwestern authorities tell me they call that cobblestone ice, where it's so bumpy on the road. That's happening all across the metro area. Very, very busy morning. More coming up. First live and local right here on Good Day Oregon.
Good morning once again, everyone. We're coming up on 7:30. We want to take you out live to breaking news near the Rose Quarter this morning.
That's right. We want to check in with Joe Vithiathil. A MAX train has derailed. The tracks were just full of snow and ice. We have an entire crew of people trying to figure out how to get that MAX train back on the rails. Joe, what are you seeing?
Okay, so guys, just about less than a minute ago, they actually jacked up the train now. It is if we look at the wheels, you can see that they are off the ground.
Yeah.
They're less than a foot off the ground. That just happened about a minute ago. So there's a person, kind of like a foreman, who's directing them on how to turn the wheels. He's saying turn them left, turn them right, so on and so forth, presumably so they'll be lined up with the tracks. That's obviously what I'm thinking here. He's saying turn right, turn left, and we can see that the wheels are turning in that direction. Now they're looking at them and getting hands on there, it looks like. But yeah, they just jacked it up. Again, not terribly far, but far enough to get some clearance.
And Joe, are the wheels poised above the rails so that if they were to lower it, it'd be right back down on the rails, or do they have to go, do they have to slide laterally a little bit?
Yeah, they're probably, I mean, they're less than 6 inches from my vantage point. They're not terribly far, but far enough that they would clear the rails and then get right back down. Yeah, so they're not terribly high up there right now.
This has been fascinating to watch. This is not something TriMet has dealt with. At least we talked to the spokesperson in recent memory.
They're dropping the train.
All right, we're going to stick with this and watch it.
It looks like, I think I heard that they were dropping it. But, okay, maybe not. Sorry.
That's okay. We want to watch this and see this happen. As we were talking earlier, and we heard from Roberta Allstat, in her memory, she doesn't recall this ever happening.
It feels unprecedented, and it feels like this team has come together very quickly to find a solution to this problem. We saw several people with blow torches just trying to clear the snow and ice from the rail. Makes me awfully nervous to see their heads under that heavy train.
And we were saying just a few moments ago, this seems pretty much organic. They're just trying to fix it as they go along and figure out what to do here. They brought in this, what we believe is a hydraulic jack that they've lifted this up with. And what we believe is going to happen is that they'll move it laterally and put it down. But as Joe was saying, just a very short distance now to put it back down onto the tracks. And they're trying to get the wheels lined up.
Here they go. The gentleman just said to drop it down. He said to
here we go. I see it lowering.
Watch your fingers.
And do you see that it's landed on tracks now?
Wow.
Well, yeah, and that's what those men were doing. Obviously, was to make sure that they lined up when it landed.
Nice job, guys.
It looks like they have. Yeah, it looks like it's back down on the rails now.
There are no high fives yet, though.
Where's the high five?
Or chest bumps or any of that.
Joe, get out there and give them a little fist bump.
There they go.
There they go. They're shaking hands. Yes.
I don't think we're in fist bump territory yet. Just going off the expression on their faces.
So don't get the mission accomplished banner out just yet, but soon.
So Tony, if people are just waking up and joining us, this was an ice issue this morning.
Yeah,
it definitely was on a little traveled track.
Exactly, yeah, and again, the coldest morning we've had ever, as according to Andy, and I mean...
On this date.
On this date, and the freeways are backing that up. A lot of people are hitting the road this morning, and it's still, very, very treacherous out here. But yeah, it looks, like a lot of people are getting to the point where they really need to get something done. And it's the most people we've seen during the sort of traditional morning rush hour time on the freeways that we've seen all week.
Yeah, this has been going on for about, about 5:30 when we first heard word of this. So these crews have been out for a couple of hours trying to figure out how to get this MAX train back on the lines. And, in the meantime, it's causing a massive delay for MAX trains.
When the trains don't run, TriMet sets up bus bridges. It's called a bus bridge because it bridges you from one stop to the other, but you're going on the bus basically. And they have those set up and in place, so you could go out to your normal MAX stop and be directed by personnel where to get on the bus. You might want to just take the bus in the first place, just to kind of save any issues. But again, remember that the buses that are running are all chained up, so they're going 25 miles an hour maximum, and so there are kind of some delays there as well. It's been a rough week, and we're all kind of getting into the idea that you have to kind of go with some of the punches here and kind of roll with it and be a little bit flexible. So trains are running in some areas, buses are running, but again, use a lot of patience heading out there.
The traffic, as we watch this, just on the roads is really terrible this morning. I think people are getting a little cabin fever. They're ready to sort of get out and about. But you may not realize that with our frigid temperatures, a lot of the snow is still out there. And a lot of what maybe has potentially melted because of traffic has iced over. It is incredibly cold. It's still dangerous on the roads. And boy, traffic is bumper to bumper on a lot of our highways.
It definitely is. Yeah.
You have to wonder now if they're going to back it up a little bit just to give it some clearance there for the cleanup. Because they had backed it up earlier just to move it more so the front part of the train closer to the track.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to get it as close as they could, because Joe said at one point it was about 15 feet off the track.
I mean, they definitely appear to be done with this part of the operation, and they're breaking down that tackle and the steel block they had set up there, so that's obviously a good sign.
Boy, what a morning for all of us, because we have not seen something like this. And the fact that, you know, we look outside, we see some of the roadways clear, and we think, oh, okay, everything's, you know, getting back to normal. It really isn't.
Yeah, for those of you just waking up at 7:32, this MAX train derailed a couple of hours ago. As Kim mentioned, a very little used section of track, used maybe once at night, once in the morning. Our TriMet spokesperson told us it was used last night. So for those of you wondering how they let the rails get so iced up, you know, I mean, this sort of thing happened probably within a few hours. Yes, Joe?
Oh, I was just going to say, while you were talking there, and I don't know the terminology, but the little thing, basically what connects the train to the rail, or to the cables, it just went up and connected to the cables. It wasn't connected.
So that's a good sign.
Basically, it's connected to the cables again. Obviously, it sounds like, it looks like they may be attempting to move it once they get this scene cleared here.
That's sort of the equivalent to putting the key in the ignition. So now they're able to get power when they turn it on. So, yeah.
And I wonder if they disconnected it to make this change is like turning the power off when you know, do some electrical work at the house. You don't want to have that go through there.
But
that's a great idea. I should think of that next time I do this.
If you don't, there's a pretty quick reminder. As
you'll
you
find
get
out
into
real
it.
fast.
Hot tip from Andy.
That is the hot tip of the day.
So, Joey, I think we saw, what, more than a dozen workers there. It started out as just a few trying to melt the ice, and then the cavalry was called in, huh?
13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I just counted 17 people here, guys.
Go.
17. When we arrived, it was 2. So, and it was little by little. I mean, I'm not kidding. At one point, it was a guy with a little metal pole just chipping away the ice. And Mike, my photographer, and I looked at each other and said, "Well, we're going to be here for a while," because But then they broke out the blowtorch brigade, and then ever since then, things have been moving at a much faster clip. And hopefully, they've restored power. I can hear that it sounds like there's power going to the train right now. So hopefully that's another sign that things are going to get moving here pretty soon.
What a morning for that driver, huh? You know, we're just thankful it wasn't going any faster. It could have been a much different outcome here.
Yeah, and if you you know, the shot to the left there of the train itself, that's where I was talking about how Andy pointed out really astutely that this is a section of the track that goes right across the roadway. So of course, you know, that's where likely the problem occurred, because cars going through there kind of in a move and that slush around a little bit, just enough to kind of fill in those gaps where those tracks are.
Yeah, that was an excellent point, because I was sitting here sort of thinking, if they just used it last night, I don't know, no more snow fell, what happened?
Right.
Makes perfect sense to me now that the cars riding over the tracks moved a lot of that slush back in.
And then the really hard freeze that we got it's frozen solid, and then it wasn't going to move from there. So
yeah, for those who are just tuning in too, and you may have missed it, but there were at least 5, maybe 6 blowtorches being used to try to melt that snow and ice, and it took quite an effort. It didn't melt right away.
And
it was
using
really packed in there.
those big propane tanks like you have attached to your barbecue at home.
Yep, just that. In that shot you see there on the left.
So everyone's going to be adding now a blowtorch, big metal block, and bricks to their car-ready preparedness.
Well, then can I have a couple of those TriMet guys too, maybe, as part of my kit?
Joe, we're going to stay with you, and Joe, just let us know when you think this is going to move so we can pop you back up. But, you know, this is impacting a lot of riders, as we said. Marilyn Deutsch is standing by with some of those who are impacted. If we can get to her. And Marilyn, tell us where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Goose Hollow, right near the MAX station, and this is the point where they're busing people around this problem over onto the east side, and I've got Taylor and Collins here with me. And you guys actually thought you were going to take MAX all the way to the airport when you had to get off here.
Yeah, pretty much. I was just at the Sunset Transit Center. They're waiting for the MAX to hopefully take us to the airport.
We're going to be down at 10th and Yam Hill and then take the MAX in, but looks like we're going to take an Uber now.
Okay, yeah, they're actually waiting for an Uber because you didn't think the bus and the combination of things you have to do would get you there on time, right?
Yeah, or let alone derailing too, or some of that magnitude too. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy morning.
Okay, did you wait out here 12-degree temperatures. I'm not seeing snow pants on you, Taylor.
I have sweatpants on and running shoes, so we're about to go to LA, so this is a little bit different weather than we were expecting.
Okay, so you can see the impact on folks. They did not dress for this. I mean, it's 12 degrees out. Tell people who aren't outside yet how cold you are.
My toes are definitely numb. Yeah, definitely numb now.
Hey, Marilyn, if it's any...
getting there for sure.
Hey, Marilyn, if it's any consolation...
Go ahead, Tony.
Marilyn, you can tell them that 84 outbound and 205 north of the airport are clear. However, 205 north from, Johnson Creek Boulevard to 84 is a total mess. So the section they're going to go through shouldn't be too bad in terms of traffic.
All right, I'll let their Uber driver know that when he or she gets here.
Yeah, they'll be relieved
to hear it. The good thing is that they're... Yeah, it's mostly clear 84 and 205 with a big exception, but we'll talk to your Uber driver about it when he gets or she gets here.
Yeah.
When do you expect him or her?
Just two minutes away here.
All right.
Hopefully soon, yeah.
All right, Taylor and Collins, they're going to get out of this cold very soon. Hopefully, if that Uber driver gets here, really does get here in 2 minutes. So, obviously, not dressed for the weather. They hope to take the MAX all the way to the airport. They've got their luggage with them. They probably made it down and up some steep steps at the transit center.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of snow there still, but not as super slippery. It was still pretty safe.
Okay, let me tell you, when they told you the reason for all this was a derailment, did you go, huh?
I didn't believe it at first, for sure. I looked on my phone, seen on the TriMet app, and I was like, I can't really believe that. So I called him to check on the news first to really see. Yeah, but I guess so.
Yeah, we guess so, too. We never heard of anything like this either. So, okay, we're going to help Taylor and Collins get on their way to the airport because they're going to L.A. and they got to get warm. So we're going to wrap it up from here in Goose Hollow and send it back to you.
All right, Marilyn, thank you. And we're going to keep an eye on the MAX train, and when it starts moving, we'll be sure to pop in and let you know.
I have to acknowledge, though, the shot that Mike Heinrich took at the back of the guy's vest that said Wreck Master. I mean, talk about a title.
When you get a vest like that.
You've got a Wreck Master on the scene.
This weekend, he's getting another stripe on the front there, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
I almost got that for my eldest daughter when she was driving high school. Let's go right now to the temperatures we have around the metropolitan area, just because that is the biggest story that I have. Look, it's 12 degrees at PDX. The old record low for today was 14 degrees, but Hillsboro is outdoing everybody as far as overnight lows are concerned. 5 degrees currently in Hillsboro at this point in time. Everybody else right there in the teens and 20s. Look, so the light rail is moving.
Let's take
that.
That shot full. We want to see this happen. This is sort of the fruition of everything we've been watching over the past couple of hours.
Really fantastic to see this. Again, this happened, at about 5:30 this morning when this train derailed by the Rose Quarter. What a proud moment for these workers who really, as we know, probably, at least here in Portland, haven't had to deal with something like this. And the Wreck Master to the rescue.
Yes, and they must just be feeling great.
Of course, all of the other crew members. Joe says there's about 17 workers out there with TriMet trying to get things back online because it's, of course, not just the train, but all of the many commuters who are impacted by it.
It was incredible to watch the progress. I mean, and really, if you think about it, 2 hours to take a derailed train, which Joe says was quite a ways off the tracks, and have it moving within 2 hours. I mean, you know, they should be very proud.
All right, we'll revisit Joe and get another update in just a bit, but the good news is the MAX train is moving once again by the Rose Quarter that was derailed. Andy, we'll get back to you with the weather.
All right, we'll take a look at the rain, snow, cloud forecast map, and we are going to see just a few miscellaneous clouds, but a lot of clear skies here over the next few days. And then as we start to get into early Monday morning, we'll see some rain showers offshore. Won't be till the afternoon that they will actually arrive here in the metro. So the forecast to the coast today, we'll see mostly sunny skies, temperatures upper 30s to low 40s out there. In the valley, we will go with some patchy fog in some areas of the valley, but then mostly sunny. Highs, though, only in the low to mid 30s, like 36 for Albany. That'll be one of the warmest spots. Mount Hood, mostly sunny this afternoon. Temperatures dropping to the teens. Timberline and Meadows, 24 at the pass, 28 degrees for Welch's. In the Gorge, a couple of different things going on. If the west end of the Gorge, we're looking at mostly sunny skies. East end, we're looking at the potential of fog and cloudy skies. 19 the high for the Dalles. Everyone else in the upper 20s to about 30 degrees. East winds at 30 miles per hour at the west end of the Gorge. Central and eastern Oregon, North end, we'll be looking at clouds and fog. South end, we're looking at mostly sunny skies. 14 the high for Pendleton, 15 Baker City, and then 21 both Bend and LeGrand. Our 7-day forecast, we will have very similar situation tomorrow. Morning temperature starting off in the teens, afternoon highs 30 and 35. Lots of sunshine through the day. Rain holds off until Monday afternoon, the high of 37, and then low 50s. A big jump in temperatures Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday still mild and raining, 48 for the high. Now let's go to Tony.
Thanks, Andy. Again, the train back on the tracks. Its service yet to be restored completely, but hopefully that'll happen soon. So good news for Max riders. Meantime, along 205 northbound, as you roll into the area of Stark Street, this is field of cobblestone ice. That's that bumpy road surface that makes it so slow. That backup actually goes back into the area of Johnson Creek Boulevard, but also over on the Sunset Highway coming inbound. Had a couple problems out there throughout the course of the morning, and right now it is backed up from before 185th Avenue all the way through Bethany. So boy, oh boy, people are really hitting the road this morning like they have not pretty much at all this week. A little bit lighter in Vancouver, but again, you still have what's almost bare pavement here on the freeways, but again, still packed snow and ice on the side roads, and still, of course, many closures here in the Portland area as well. So definitely a busy morning on the freeways out there. Back to you.
All right, Tony, thank you. The time is 7:42, coming up on Good Day Oregon. Now that we're finally seeing the pavement on some of the roads out there, people seem to be going back to get their cars, but they're coming up empty-handed. So we'll show you how you can get your car back if you had to abandon it and it was towed away.
As we take you into a break, once again, a live picture from Air 12 of this MAX line that derailed about a little more than 2 hours ago, but is now back on track. More coming up here on Good Day.
Welcome back, everyone. This is a live look from Air 12 as we are over the scene near the Rose Quarter where that MAX train derailed this morning. We watched the process over about 2 hours as crews were able to get that train back on the tracks. Looks as though it's still stopped, though. They're still doing some work out there. We'll keep you posted, definitely. It's definitely having an impact on your commute, especially if you use TriMet. So we will keep you posted. We'll have a live report coming up. Well, lots of the lots at the Oregon Zoo are still full of cars this morning. They were towed off of the highways after the snowstorm. We want to check in now with Fox 12's Kendra Kent. So, Kendra, a lot of people have had to come back and sort of dig their cars out just to get them out of the lot, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's what we were seeing yesterday. And I haven't seen a single soul out here so far this morning. I'm a little bit surprised now that, we're approaching 8 o'clock this morning. But it might be because people are like, the roads are still bad. I don't want to deal with it. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work because a lot of these cars, they're two-wheel drive. They don't have, there's no studs here. There's no chains. So people are going to have to bring shovels or something to dig their way out. And maybe people are just like, I'll just wait until it all melts. Who knows? So, yeah, we haven't seen anybody come back this morning to claim their car. There's about 3 dozen here. But take a look at the video of when they were stuck along the freeways and highways like 217 and 26. This was during that storm. And ODOT has been taking those cars off of the roads and bringing them here to where we are now at the A-lot of the Oregon Zoo. It's just one of several places that we hear they're towing them. Now, yesterday we were here in the lot as people came to look for their cars and if they were lucky, dig them out. But it was no dice for Angela Taylor. She spent days looking for her silver Volkswagen Jetta. She says she abandoned it on Highway 217 a couple days ago during that storm. She says she did not find it at the Oregon Zoo, so today the search will continue.
Thank God I had some family that lived out in Tiger that I could stay with, but now I'm just, I'm staying hopeful and faithful that I'll find it.
Now, if you're in the same boat as Angela looking for your car, you can still call ODOT if you left it on a state highway or freeway. You'll need to tell them where you left your car and also give them your license plate number. Now, back out here live, a little while ago, one of the producers for our show called me and said, did you see a green Mini Cooper? And so I did some hunting around and look. Lo and behold, a green Mini Cooper is here.
Wow.
Whose is it? So, Kanan, if your friend is watching right now, maybe this is the car. There's some stickers there on the side. I don't know if we can zoom in on those, but could be your friend's car here. So, it's going to be expensive, though, to pay those fees.
Yeah, we can't tell because there's no front license plate.
Ooh. Oh, gosh, you guys are just calling this person out. Yeah, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Sandra. There's a way to wrap it up.
Yep.
Keep it on top of it ticket there.
Sounds like someone that would be friends with Kanan.
This is, this is gorgeous.
I love you, buddy. I know. I thought this might take your breath away. This would be a nice thing to wake up to instead of the Max line this morning. Wow. The moon setting off the distance, the beautiful colors. The Chinook Winds Beach Cam just really wowing me, and I think all of us here this morning. It's 30 degrees out there at the coast right now. Let's take a look right back here, Shriners Hospital camera, where it's a much different story. 12 degrees at the airport, which is a new record low temperature by 2 degrees for this date. Other temperatures this morning, we're looking at 28 Tillamook, 29 in Astoria, Salem 22, 26 in Eugene, 20s over the mountain passes. Again, it's interesting how much warmer it is there than what we have at PDX in the Gorge. 13, 14, also warmer than PDX. 5 though in Bend. Meacham taking it down to 11 degrees below zero. In Burns, you're like, get out of here. It's 13 degrees below zero there in Burns. Satellite picture, we still have that cold Arctic air coming down. We have some moisture off towards the Pacific Ocean, but that's going to be pushed down to the south. So folks in California will be dealing with the rain and snow. We'll just be dealing with the very cold temperatures here for the next few days before we start to break that apart and get into some milder temperatures, but rain by next week. Today, mostly sunny. High temperature will go up to 32 degrees. East winds 15 to 20 miles per hour, mainly for folks over on the east side of the metro. Tomorrow, 30, 35, the high Sunday. Still sunny out there, but morning temperatures again starting off in the teens, 16 and 18. Rain by Monday afternoon, 37 for the high, back up to 50 and 52 with sunny skies Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, some showers and a high of 48. Now let's go to Tony.
Well, now we have the answer to the age-old question, how many TriMet employees does it take to get a train back on the tracks? 17. There you go. And it is back on the rails. They're not moving back in regular service yet, but hopefully that will be coming soon. Joe there live. We'll get more from him coming up. Meanwhile, the freeways are really, really busy this morning, more than we've seen in the last couple of days or anytime this week, really. This is along 84 coming in here. 67th Avenue, big backup there also on the Sunset Highway coming inbound. I've had a couple of problems coming in around the area of Bethany. Look at that backup across the median. That traffic heading away from us is going into town, and it is stop and go from that point right through Sylvan and on through in towards the 405 interchange. So really much, much busier than it's been. A lot of people are just figuring they've really got to get moving, so they're hitting the freeways, and they're not really in that great a shape. This is 405 down by the Fremont Bridge. I'll give you a quick look at I-5 northbound through the area of Capitol Highway. And again, truck there stopped on the right-hand side. Farther ahead, you can see another truck stopped before Taylor's Ferry, and then heading in towards the curves again. Very, very busy. Side roads have not really improved much at all, and many of the freeways have that cobblestone ice that makes it really tough going. In fact, I was just talking to Stephanie, who was driving in. Hillsdale Highway has a field of that cobblestone ice that is so bumpy, it just requires traffic to run much more slowly than it would if the road were bare. So again, keep that in mind if you are choosing to head out this morning. Shauna, back to you.
All right, Tony, thank you. The time is 7:52. It's a ceremony President Obama has performed many times, but you'd be hard-pressed to find a more emotional one. See the surprise honor he gave Vice President Joe Biden. And as we head into the break, boy, we sure appreciate all your beautiful photos. You've sent us beautiful views. You've sent us just darling pictures of your kids and pets enjoying the snow. Thanks so much for sharing them with us. Look at this little snow house, igloo. I mean, this is pretty incredible. We're back with much more Good Day Oregon in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. This is a live look from Air 12 at the breaking news we've been following this morning. A MAX train derailed near the Rose Quarter. The rails just full of snow and ice. According to TriMet, just a few minutes ago, told us they were able to get it back on the tracks. We saw that happening live here on Fox 12. Now they're just sort of working to get it out of the way. It's stopped there on the tracks. It is causing some backups. There are shuttle buses running, but really they suggest you consider regular bus service instead of the MAX this morning until they get this thing off the tracks, or at least moving along on its way. We'll check in with Tony and see how that morning commute is shaping up, especially when it comes to your public transportation. Well, the presidential inauguration is just a week away, and an Oregon couple will be among the guests. Shelley and Leo Stratton say they'll be sitting in VIP seats on the big day. Leo says he supported Donald Trump through the campaign, despite confrontations with protesters here in Portland. We asked the couple what they'd say if they had the opportunity to meet Trump themselves.
And I would also thank him for putting his country above his personal interests, knowing that he's going to take $1 for a salary, and he really wants to bring America back to its founding and make it all about us first.
The Strattons say they hope to share their experience through social media. Meanwhile, President-elect Trump is firing back on Twitter this morning after the latest dossier scandal. It claims Russia holds compromising personal and financial information on the president-elect. He posted earlier today, quote, "It now turns out that the phony allegations against me were put together by my political opponents and a failed spy afraid of being sued." Russia says nothing exists, probably released by intelligence, even knowing there's no proof, and never will be. My people will have a full report on hacking within 90 days. With only a week left in office, President Obama surprised Vice President Joe Biden with a pretty incredible honor.
For your lifetime of service that will endure through the generations, I'd like to ask the military aide to join us on stage. For the final time as president, I am pleased to award our nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
The vice president was so stunned by the award. You can see he turned around, grabbed a handkerchief, struggled to hold back tears as he accepted it. In his speech, he described what the award and the president's words mean to him.
There's a Talmudic saying that says, what comes from the heart enters the heart. Mr. President, you have creeped into our heart, you and your whole family, including Mom, and you occupy it.
The president called Joe Biden a lion of American history and said he expects him to continue serving the country. Coming up on Good Day Oregon, here's a question for you. Are you sick of winter yet? I'm sure a lot of you are. Kids are loving the snow days, though. The snow will be around for a few more days. It's just so cold out there. We'll check in with Andy and see when it's finally going to melt away.